Today, we're going to share with you 6 sales tips that most salespeople don't know. Don't know. You're going to love this one. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist Podcast. I'm your host, Donald C. Kelly, the Sales Evangelist. And I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. As I mentioned in the teaser, we're listening to, you're going to hear about my good friend, Mr. Anothy Iannarino today. He came on our podcast in the past, but he has a new book. Highly recommend you check this out, Negativity Fast. This year, we've all had it. You finish up the quarter, you saw some things that maybe you didn't like. So your performance probably weren't as great as you'd like it to be. Perhaps you didn't get the hit President's Club, or maybe you did and you just didn't. Some other stuff happened. There's so much negativity in the world, but we need to make sure, we need to look for ways to be able to get past that negativity and just go to some positive stuff. Anthony talks a lot about how much time we have. And this book is not just for sales professionals, for everyone. And you're going to hear me talk about that in this episode. Anthony has wrote a plethora, some pretty awesome books. And you can find some links down to Anthony's bio in the show notes. But with this concept, though, he wants to just be able to help individuals like you and me look on the positive in life and look at how this can impact us. One of the things we talk about in the book, as well as in the interview, is how complaining can actually make you dumber, and how scientifically it's proven. Listen to it and hear how this can help you. If this is your first time listening to the show, it's designed to help you as a sales professional improve your game. 3 to 5x your sales pipeline, help you to close twice as much deals. When you apply these things, I promise you it can help. Let's go ahead and dive in. Anthony, welcome back to the show.
It's been too long. Thanks for having me.
Far too long, man. I'm really excited to have you. I'm really excited to hear your insights, and have you, break down with us some of these things. You wrote another book, and first off, congratulations on that. And we have this linked in our show notes, the Negativity Fast. And for many of us, I think we have so much negativity going on in our life and don't even recognize it. And I'm excited to kind of hear from you about this. And the caveat to this book and an asterisk is that it's not just for salespeople. So if you're listening to this episode, your mom or cousin could benefit from this, share this episode with them. But talk to me about it. Why now, though, Anthony? Why another book? You've done enough already, and there's plenty of book on positivity out there.
One of the things that happens to me is I finish a book and I'm really happy that I don't have a deadline for another book. Mm-hmm. And then I get another deadline for another book. And I'm thinking, like, at some point, I need to take a little bit of break, right? But I keep, I'm writing one with Jeb right now, right?
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, Jeb and I are writing one. Yeah, we're doing a book together. And then I have another project that I'm already working on, but I'm committing to just one a year because I did 2 a year 2 times. Way too hard. It's way too hard. So not going to do that anymore. Why this book and why now? If there was ever a book that was needed right now, this is the book. That's what I believe. I believe post-pandemic, political divisiveness, stress, anxiety, depression, so much of this going on. We have our neighbors have to be our warring tribe against us because we have the different politics. I mean, it shouldn't be like this. And there's so much negativity. I think that everybody is just like you're just constantly surrounded by negativity especially if you watch any news. My wife is always mad at me. She says, "Did you see that story today?" "No, I didn't see it." And she said, "How could you not have seen that?" "I'm not looking for it. I don't want to see it. I'm not responsible for those things. I'm only responsible for a few things that I can do something about, and I'll do something about those things." But she's like, "How could you not see that?" Well, I don't have to worry about it because you probably know when any bad thing happens, all the negative people are going to tell you anyway. I don't need the news to do that. They're all going to start complaining about it, shrinking their hippocampus, of course, right? Now we know that. They shouldn't be doing that. But this book, I think, is needed. And one of the things, Donald, that I realized after I wrote this book is that I wrote it for the wrong people. Now, everybody needs it. Don't get me wrong. But I started thinking about these practical, tactical strategies that you can use to be more positive and less negative. We should be teaching these to kids in seventh grade. I mean, we should be doing it way earlier than where I'm giving it to people. Like
Hmm.
I'm giving it to adults. But man, if you would have had those when you were in middle school and just started to understand how powerful things like gratitude is and how bad it is for you to complain and to be negative and how it can actually cause you to have mental health issues. And we don't do anything about this right now, but I have seen some things that I did cite in the book where there are some schools now that are doing mindfulness practice with young
That's cool.
children, like third and fourth grade, so that they can start to take care of their mental and emotional state, which I think is a wonderful thing to do at that time. If you would learn that so early like that, I think your life would be a lot more positive and a lot less negative.
Yeah, it's behavior. I think it goes back to this, and I'm proud parent, so I can talk about this. My son now,
I
uh,
saw that boy. He's a good looking boy.
I know he got it from his mom, right? um, the one of the things that I saw that he's doing right now, Anthony. We taught him, and my wife, credit all to her and the stuff that she's learned, taught him the sounds of the letters rather than teaching him how to memorize the letters, right? Like A, B, C, but A, B, C, and so forth. So he now knows. He was writing this weekend, Feliz Navidad. He goes to a Spanish immersion school, so he wrote Feliz Navidad. He's 4, but it didn't spell it perfect. But he sounded out phonetically and had like 1 or 2 missed letters. The point, though, is that we
He's
taught him
4.
that. Yeah, like should have got it right. We didn't tell him that part. Oh, but we, praised him for what he did it and
Yeah,
so forth. But the thing is, he learned that at a young age. Now, go back to what we are saying. Why I agree with you so much. Like, if we were able to, understand mindfulness and understand that from a young age as well, just as much as we understand how to read or early on, how that can help us with the relationship or the emotional problems that we find, and especially in teens nowadays,
yeah,
where there's so many challenges that come from social that their identity become built around that. But the mindfulness
yeah,
and understanding a little bit more. Oh, come on, man, it would be so good. So, ooh,
yeah.
so good. So we're taking this on a road. It's not just for salespeople. We're taking this for everybody.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
Oh,
some of it is, when you talk about salespeople, they
yeah,
say things like, "Oh, there's so much rejection." And like
yeah,
nobody rejected you. They rejected the value proposition for the meeting or
yeah,
the proposal, but they don't know you well enough to actually reject you. You're a
yeah.
salesperson and you're not family or anything like that. Those are the people that you know a lot better. But yeah, I think that anything that you could do, and I will tell you this, my mom um, taught me to read by 3 years old. I could read.
Wow.
And I said, "How did you do this?" She just told me this like 2 months ago. And I said, "How did you teach me to read?" And she said, "Every day we played school." And that's all we did. We played school every day. And I've always had a book with me. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
wherever I am, I have a book. And I didn't know how that happened to me. I just knew I loved books, and I
Yeah,
still do.
it's
Reading them,
amazing.
writing them.
But reading them, writing them, sharing them. um, Anthony, I want to go into the first part. I think a lot of people don't understand why they're negative. Let's dive into
Yeah.
that. I know you have some data, some insights on that. Why are we
I
so
have a
negative?
I have a whole bunch of things. I'm going to just pop this open because I don't want to get this wrong. I know exactly where it is.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a book
okay,
club,
so
guys. We're doing our book club together.
so when you start looking into negativity, the first thing that you run into is called negativity bias.
Hmm.
There's 4 things that make up negativity bias. The first one is that it's called negative potency, which means negative things seem to register emotionally a lot more than anything that would be positive. And then the second thing that they would call this is they would say steeper gradients. What's steeper gradients means the closer you get to a negative event, the more negative it feels for you. And then there's this was my favorite. negative dominance. This is from a really, really good source. And what I will tell you is that if you lost $100 and then you found 150, you'd still be mad about losing the $100, even though you're up $50. And then the last thing is negative differentiation, which is it's really hard for our brain to process negative things, but that's what it does really well. We have a negative bias, but I would have to tell you there is a positive bias too. That's why we pursue our goals and we persevere and do those things. So that's one of it. And then the other thing that I would tell you that I think is mostly responsible for where we are right now as it pertains to negativity is what I call the AC/DC environment. Not like the rock band, even though that's one of my favorite rock bands, but it's accelerating, constant, disruptive change. And that's what we have. So you might remember a year ago, we found out that AI is here. Who knew? And now, if you didn't see this, OpenAI has just said we're doing AGI, which is artificial general intelligence, which means AI will be smarter than we are very soon after this. So who knows where we are right now in this part of our lives. Now, this thing just shows up and we don't know what the outcome is going to be. I hope it's positive because AI is really good at grinding. It'll just keep grinding on the same problem until it solves it because that's what it does. Jeb and I have this thing where we say it doesn't have a soul, it just has a goal, but it really wants that goal. So it really works hard to give you whatever answer you want. So let's hope it gives us greater life experiences, longer lives, all those sort of things. So I hope that that's what's going to happen. But I do think that the environment is bad. You've got a hot war in Europe. Now you got one in the Middle East. You got the greatest inflation in 50 years. You got interest rates that keep people out of getting a home. I mean, all of these things are going on at the same time. Groceries up over 20%. And if you like chicken or you like bacon, you're going to be really poor after you go to the grocery store. I mean, all those things are really, really expensive now compared to the past. So this is just where we are, and it's disrupting for people.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because sometimes I guess go back into the part. Do we even know when these things leak into negativity into our lives, or is it just by association?
You're just around it all the time, and I think the more that you consume negative content, whether it's from Fox News if you're on the right, if it's MSB and you're on the left, all you're doing is hearing negative things about other people. And I just think that that's a bad thing for us to be doing. I mean, I have friends across all the spectrums, and I don't care what your politics are. You get one vote, I get one vote, and we see how it works out. And that seems to be a fair thing for us to do. I think this idea that we have to be enemies with people that don't believe the same thing that we do means that we don't have the diversity of ideas and diversity of different experiences that people have had. And we don't always pay attention to other people's experiences. I think it's really important to do this. I just had, I put a post on LinkedIn, a response about a person who was trying to get a date with a girl at a health club, and my daughters have told me they're constantly afraid. They're constantly afraid. If they're in an elevator, if they're in a parking lot, they're always just afraid that something's going to happen to them. That's a different perspective than you and I would have, but they have that, and that's the kind of thing that I think helps us connect with other people and understand their experiences.
Yeah. I really agree with you that we had a conversation with some of my friends back in the heat of the political and a lot of divisiveness. It's like, it's cool to sit down with people that you don't agree with, and to have convo. And I think it helped me from my debate days. Like sometimes in high school, you'd have these debates and you would next thing you know, you get done and you go sit down and you chat with the person and have lunch or whatever. But it wasn't like, you didn't hate them. It was a debate.
No,
It's like, you have a point of view and I
no.
have a point of view. But we still both like soccer. So let's go play soccer.
Yeah. Columbus, Ohio, right here.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that that's right. I'm actually more interested in people that have something that I don't believe, and I
Mm,
want to understand why they believe it or why they think it's valuable. That's the
yeah.
most interesting conversation you can have. I already know what I know. I want to know
Yeah.
what Donald knows. I want to know what
And
his experience on these things are, because that makes me have more access to understanding something better.
exactly. And I think that part, if we can all master that, it helps us no matter what career field we're in. I think, especially as a seller, it's going to help me as a tremendously as a seller, because if I if I have the opportunity and the ability to be able to understand people and seek to understand people from where they're coming from, I mean, think about how deep my network would be. Think about how deep my connections would be. Think about how much more, opportunities can come my way because I'm not leaning on biases. I just think this is it's a powerful way to open up the gate and not leave us into one corner, so to speak.
Yeah, I agree with that completely.
How about this part? We got to address it. Stop complaining.
Yeah.
Back in chapter 4, you talk
If
about.
you ever see that picture of Michael Phelps and he's got all the gold medals on, you've
Yes.
seen that picture. If complaining was an Olympic sport, I would have as many gold uh, medals as he had. Like I was a constant, chronic complainer. Nothing's good enough. It should be better. And I have this idea of what something should be, and it doesn't show up that way. And then I start complaining until I realized that it's really good here. It's a really good place. All the people that love you are here. All the people that you love are here with you. It's an amazing thing that we have this chance to be here for about 4,000 weeks, maybe more. Um, Most of the reason that life expectancy has gone down is suicide and fentanyl. Those are the two
Mm,
things that we have to, that's what's pushing the number down.
yeah, and that's sad. That's really sad. And so many people who have so much to live for, so many opportunities ahead of them, and just kind of comes down quit. It ends early. They're cut down a little bit early, and that's sad from that standpoint. I feel like, go back to what you're saying. There's so many good things to look forward to, and so many opportunities that we can look forward to, and oftentimes we don't even pay attention to that. Um, but and how do we stop complaining, though, Anthony? Like, how do I get to that point as a human being when it's been a habit? Because you did it.
Oh, yeah, I don't complain about anything. It doesn't matter how bad it is, it's fine because I like it here. But I will tell you the secret for me was understanding how bad it is for your health. It's bad for
Hmm.
your physical health, it's bad for your mental health, it's bad for your relationships. It will cause people to try to get away from you because you complain all the time, even people that you love and that love you. It does all kinds of damage. So that's the first thing. Then, if we have to go back to the hippocampus, which I will make sure people hear this, when you are a chronic complainer, the part of your brain that's responsible for intelligent thinking, called the hippocampus, starts to shrink. And as it shrinks, it makes it harder for you to solve your own problems. And so, if you have something that you want to complain about, the best thing that you could do is just do something about it and then let that be that. So, don't complain about it. And if you want me to give you the other thing that you should be aware of if you don't want to be a complainer, is gratitude.
Mm.
Now, in this book, I cited every claim. I did not intend to cite every claim, but I read about gratitude, and the claims were so many and so outrageous that I felt like if I didn't put a citation by it, people would not think it's true. So here's what gratitude does: better cognitive thinking, uh, reduced chance of having a heart attack, better and stronger immune system, better relationships, will reduce inflammation in your body. And the list just keeps going on and on and on. Reduces anxiety, it reduces stress. It can even reduce or remove depression for some people. And you don't know that, and kids don't know that, and we've not been told what the science tells us. So I after I did the first citation, unfortunately, my editor said, I think you should cite every single claim that you make. So at the
Mm.
back of the book, there's maybe a couple hundred citations to what I read and where I went and got the science for this. So I wanted it to be a science book without it being a science book. I really wanted it to be a book that you could read without having to read a whole lot of science to catch up.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's the hippocampus one really got me to think about how the impact that can have on, how we go, how we go forward. And it's, you hear people like parents tell you, just think positive, stay positive, um, and, don't complain. And you kind of see some of the, the data and the research behind it with this. And I think that's fascinating. Um, is there something that if there's somebody in my life, somebody that's I work with, if they're a chronic complainer, besides telling them that they should stop, it's going to make them dumb. Is there anything else that I can share with them to help them to not be that chronic complainer?
I think one of the most powerful things in this book is something from, they call him the father of positive psychology, Martin Seligman. And what he recommends was something called three blessings. And
Hmm.
what you do with three blessings is at the end of your day, don't have a gratitude journal that you do in the morning. You do it at the end of the day, and you write down three things that went well for you and why they went well for you. And now, if you do that, that will reduce your stress, your anxiety, and your depression.
What went well and why? I
Yeah.
like that, especially toward the idea of towards the end of the day, getting really looking back over what was accomplished. What are some of those major successes, major wins? Um, I want to go into chapter 9. You talked about the how to change your state, and I'm not talking about leaving Ohio and coming to Florida, but how do
I
you
am
change
going to
that state?
Florida.
Oh, you are. Look at that.
Yeah.
Well, whenever you
Coral
do.
Gables or something like that, on the 29th. Where are you?
I'm in West Palm, so we're about hour and a half north of that. I mean, north of Coral
Yeah.
Gables. So,
Yeah.
all right, we may have to party. I'm staying in town this holiday. So, actually, we were
Me.
going to
Well,
try
I'm
to do
going
a
down
white
there.
Christmas. So, well, done. We'll stay in touch on that.
What
um,
I would tell you about that three blessings is if you
yeah.
put it in a journal, and after a month of doing that and finding three things that went well for you every day,
Hmm.
and you go back and you just keep reading those entries, what happens is you start to realize every day good things happen to me. Every single day good things happen to me. We have occasional bad things happen to us, but most of the time you have good things that are happening to you every single day. I think that this is the way that you should think about how do I get rid of that negativity bias? Well, start counting the good things instead of just counting the negative things that happen, and spend more time on the good things because most of your life is good, and you'll have a record of that you can actually prove to yourself that a lot of good things happen to you. And I
Mm,
will go to chapter 9 for you.
sure.
This is one of my favorite things to talk about. Uh, I I'm a bail bondsman for dogs. That's mostly what I care about. So like, they get locked up, and I think somebody's got to go and try to help get them out of there. So every year about this time, I go in and I buy all the dogs, and that's not a lot of dogs, but there's way more cats in a humane society. So there might be like 9 or 10 dogs, and so I buy those dogs, and then I don't take them with me because I'm not a crazy person and I want to stay married. So No more dogs after this. So I go in and I do that. Well, the last time I did this, they said, would you take a picture with this pit bull? It's a big white pit bull. And it's an aggressive dog, not in a mean way, but just really wants attention. And I said,
Yeah.
sure, I will. And so I took the picture with the dog. And then they put it on their Facebook page. And it said, this angel came in and bought all of the dogs. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I wasn't trying to get attention for me. I was just
Oh,
trying to take care of these dogs. So the next day,
uh-huh.
some woman saw that I had bought all the dogs, and she came in and literally bought all of the cats. I don't know, that was like 46,000 cats or something. Like, there's so many cats in there. She bought all of them. And then two of
What?
my friends called me, and they said, do you mean to tell me that I could just go in and buy the dogs and I don't have to take them? And I said, of course you can. They don't care. They need the money. And then they went and paid for two more dogs that weren't even there. And then
That is
another one
cool.
went and did two more. And you cannot feel bad about yourself when you're helping somebody, whether it's a dog or whether it's a homeless person, like anything that you do. If you start to get out of your own way and stop worrying about you and start worrying about someone or something else like that, that goes away like this fast. Like, you forget all about what you were unhappy about a few minutes ago because you're now focused on trying to help somebody else. The second story I would tell you is I took my wife and one of my daughters to dinner. And when we went out of the Starbucks, there was a homeless man. It was dark out, and I could hardly even see him because the rain was coming down so hard. And I
Yeah.
told my daughter, Mia, I said, give me my wallet. And I gave the money to my wife, and she handed it to the homeless guy. And he did this right away. He turned around, and he didn't want us to see him counting how much money I gave him. I
Yeah.
had $80 in cash, so I gave him $80 in cash. And my young daughter said, why did you give him that money? He's probably going to buy alcohol or drugs. And I said, well, I gave him the money because I have the money to give him. And I'm not trying
Mm.
to control him. I can't control him, but I can try to give him some help. And she said, I think he's going to go get drugs and alcohol. And I said, well, that will be his decision after I gave him that. And she didn't understand why I did it
Yeah.
because he has nothing and he's standing in the rain. When he turned and walked away, he yelled, I can go home. I could go home. And he took off running. And I thought,
No
I don't
way.
know. Like,
No.
yeah.
No.
And I was just like, that's why I gave him the money, because I have the money. He doesn't have the money. I can
Yeah.
give more money. He has to beg for money. Why wouldn't I give it to him? And then she took a lesson from that too, because I don't walk by people and not help them. I mean,
Yeah.
we get ice cream once a week. We drive through. There's always a guy standing at the edge of the thing, and I always have a 20 for him. I have no
Yeah.
idea if he's buying alcohol or not, but he's standing on the street. What am I going to do? I got
Yeah.
it. He doesn't. What are you going to do? So,
That's
if you
powerful,
want to
man.
get out of your own way, start to try to help other people, or cats, or dogs, or whatever you care about.
I might have to try that one. I know the animal shelter here, so I may have to go and buy some dogs.
Yeah,
I don't know if Christine will be happy if I take it home, but I like the idea of buying them and having somebody
yeah.
come and get them.
You don't have to take them, so that's the
Yeah.
good part. This past month, they ran out of food at our humane society in
Yeah.
Delaware County, where I live, and my wife called and said, I'm going to send them a bunch of bags of dog food. And I
Uh-huh.
said, great, send it. So she had Amazon drop it off for them,
That's
just like
cool.
that. Yeah.
You see, like the stuff like that just makes it just makes the world a better place. Like, just makes you feel good. And I think what I got from this, and one of the things I got from this, many things, but when you look out of yourself and look for other people that you can help, like, that's going to tremendously change your state. If I am in this negative environment, can I help somebody else who can't help themselves, whether it's the homeless person or whether it's the dogs or the cat? I don't know about the cats though, but at least the dogs. Just kidding.
Well, you know what Christopher Hitchens said? He said, if you have a dog and you feed it and you give it water and you walk it and you take good care of that dog, you pet it, the dog will think that you're God. And then if you do the same thing with a cat and you feed it and you pet it and you brush its fur, it will think that it's God.
Hey, you're not lying with that.
I know I got 2 cats in the house and 2 dogs, so I know.
Oh my goodness, man. Well, I think changing that state is something we can do. And especially right now, end of the year, rolling into the new year, we can change our year. We could change the state of mind that we're in and just look for ways to help other people and get ourselves out of this negativity. There's so much in this book that we didn't get a chance to cover today. But I just want to recommend everyone that you go and check out the Negativity Fast.
Did you get the book?
I have the
book. Is that the book?
Or? Oh, physical book.
Physical you got the physical book. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So if you are listening to this episode, I highly recommend it. But Anthony, if there's one major takeaway that you want people to get from listening, reading this book, what's that one major piece of advice?
Your time here is just so short, even though it's long enough for us. I mean, we're going to have 4,000 plus weeks. What I would tell you is try to spend as much of it as you can in a positive state. And it's not easy to do that. But of the 11 or 12 chapters here, if you start to remove the sources of negativity and all of these, I'll just tell you this. I'm trying to tell this without really telling you the secret. The first chapters here, before we get to 12, is just me teaching you that you are the source of your negativity. No one's triggering you. Like when my brothers had somebody try to cut him off, he just decided this guy really needs to get to a rest stop, and I'm going to let him go. He changed his belief that this person's got road rage into this person's under some physical duress, let's put it that way. And he needs to get there fast. And I said, how did you know that? And he goes, because this happens to me all the time. And then that gave him the empathy to just change the story. The story is whatever you believe. Is this person a maniac and they're a terrible driver? Or are they just under some pressure? Like maybe they're trying to get a prescription home to their sick wife or something. We don't know. But you could lie to yourself anyway and just lie so you have the empathy for another human being. And if they're trying to get in front of you, they're one car ahead of you. Go ahead and go, right?
I always tell my wife, a joke with her, Anthony, is I say, well, that person's got to get to the bathroom, so let's let him go. We have fun with them. Listen, man, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show today. Thank you so much for your insights. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on. It's always good to see you.
Same to you. Can't wait to connect in Coral Gables.
Yeah, we'll be there. We're going to be there for about a week or so. I'll reach out to you.
Sounds like a plan.
Cool.
That was Anothy Iannarino. Please do yourself a favor. Go ahead and pick up a copy of this book. You can find information about it in the show notes. Highly, highly, highly recommend it. It's more than sales. You can buy it for a couple people in your network and just give it to them as a gift. Very simple thing to do, an easy idea, and to show them that you care. Again, the Negativity Fast. Find details about it in the link in the show notes. But I want to hear about you, man. What's something amazing that's happening in your world, in your life this past year? Go ahead and drop me a message on LinkedIn, Donald T. Kelly. What's something amazing that happened this year in your life? Drop me a message. As always, I want you to thrive and succeed. I want you to be able to look for ways to be happy. I want you to be able to make the best of everything that we have. There's so much good out there. I want you to raise your level of thinking, 3 to 5x your sales pipeline, close twice as many deals, make some money in the process, but do big things. I appreciate you. See you in the next one.